basically addiction isn't necessarily about the substance. It's about the behaviors and the trauma and the growth. Can you take a partial? Anything? I mean, you're not the only bill I have. I guess you'll have to shut me off then. Welcome to Recover Loud, everyone. I'm the producer and host of Recover Loud, Mike Paddleford. Welcome to the 4th season, everybody. Thanks for watching. Now let's get started.
Let's go. I'm on a journey to discover the truth. Living life in recovery is lovely. You got the power in you. Surround yourself with positive energy. Judges hitting people with provocative penalties. Need to make a change. Advocate to change the laws. Prove to people that it's not insane. When you stand behind a cause, I'm here to speak about the pain. Recover loud to normalize the disease that's been killing all my friends and my family. The time is now to let it all go and recover loud. The benefit is healthy people, family and friends that never have to overdose ever again, never have to plead out to a lesser offense. I'm proud to say that I recover loud. I never thought I could, but I'm so proud that I discovered how to live my life again, controlling my own destiny. I needed recovery, I still need it desperately. Addiction never defined my identity. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover.
My addiction was methamphetamine. At first it was just for an extra boost, but then it turned into, okay, I need air or else we're nodding out, and bright lights were giving me headaches because I was squinting all the time, and like see shadow peoples or think you see something but it's just a shadow or just reflection, or because you've been up too long and you haven't eaten, whatever, your brain's just starving and your brain starts playing tricks on you, and ain't nothing really there, just your imagination gone. When I was 18, 19 years old, fresh out of high school, so that's when they introduced me to meth and coke and all that big boy drugs. Well, I did that before. It was like weed and a little bit of pills. And
Did you drink?
Once in a while. I never really cared for the taste, so drinking was never my forte. It was time for me to get sober. I'm surprised I haven't had a heart attack or stroke.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, the methamphetamine used, Mountain Dew and Red Bull, and smoking cigarettes, and really luckily to be no health issues. I believe I am a miracle.
All right.
That's because of you. Started my recovery September 29th of 2022. Me and the ex-wife were battling back and forth, calling DHS on each other. So they opened up an investigation and found out it was in Shelby's best interest to remove her from both of us. I felt ashamed and embarrassed, like I let my daughters down. While my brother Michael gave me your number, yours and John Haldeberg, and I reached out to you guys, and you were able to give me some numbers to rehabs here in Maine. 2 hours after I left the appointment with DHS, I got hold of you, and that's when I started making phone calls to get into a rehab or residential treatment. And they asked me when I wanted to start, and I said ASAP. And they're like, well, I was there before DHS had time to finish the paperwork of taking my daughter. I was in rehab down in New Hampshire, which is about a 6-hour drive. Threw my hands up and surrendered, and I decided to stay for the full term of 43 days. Once they took my daughter from me, right then and there, once I got hold of you and started making phone calls to rehab, right then and there, I knew that I was done with the meth and the drugs, that lifestyle.
Methamphetamine addiction is a beast, a monster that's claimed countless lives, but it's an enemy you can conquer. This journey, while challenging, can be rewarding. Meth is a stimulant that ensnares and leaves you desperate, yet hope prevails. Recovery is unique for everyone. It's a roller coaster ride, but you don't have to do it alone. A community is ready to assist and guide you. Recovery on the Road is a Facebook group that provides hope through support and resources. It's filled with people who know what it's like to struggle with all kinds of addictions. It's a haven for strength. Recovery isn't a destination, it's a journey, and every journey begins with a single step. So take that step and join Recovery on the Road today. You'll be glad you did.
Stigma is right at the root of a lot of what the barriers have been put in front of people. Beautiful facet of the movement is going from anonymity to recovery out loud.
Really, kind of the theme tonight is really around social media and its impact on recovery, and how social media can impact and enhance and promote recovery.
We make it so difficult for people to get treatment. It's almost remarkable how well you're all doing, given how difficult society has made it. But it's our job to keep improving that situation. And I just love where we are now and where we're going, and it's really led by people with lived experience. You know, nothing about us without us.
First of all, what do you see as the role of social media in promoting recovery?
The reason I started my Facebook group in 2020 was because with the pandemic, we didn't have places to go. Meetings were shut down. We didn't have other people we could connect with. So using my Facebook, I was putting out there that I was in recovery. I was putting out there my experiences, how I was growing. And people seemed to appreciate it. And it showed to me that people at that time were starving for connection.
That's how, or a big part of how my recovery started. A friend of mine who got into it a few months before I had. At first, I kind of was being the skeptical addict, and going, yeah, right, like she's really in recovery, blah, 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 and not believing it. But then seeing the positive posts and everything she put up, that when finally I was ready, I reached out and asked to go to my first meeting. And a lot of that had to do with, I knew what she was doing. Her posting it up, and so from there, it inspired me to try to be loud about it also, to maybe help the next person.
The points that Mike makes is really important, is like the changes that COVID brought. What are your thoughts on the anonymity aspect of recovery?
It makes it seem like people that go in there or get hidden in a church basement, like we're ashamed of it. I think the more of us that can get out there and seeing these rallies take off, at events like this, and taking the shame away from others. And if we're just doing it silently, we're not showing others what's happening.
Someone else's anonymity didn't help me at all. When I finally wanted help, I didn't even know where to go. I kept thinking about all of my friends back home. I wanted them to know what I knew. So I began to recover up so that they could stay alive as well.
I have tried plenty of other times to get sober elsewhere. There's no way I'm ever going to be able to get sober here. Like, no one's sober in Rumford. I feel like that's changed in a positive direction where more people are talking about it, more people are being loud about their recovery. And it's like, I've had people reach out to me and saying, hey, so-and-so that I know is really struggling and could use someone to talk to, are you willing to talk to them?
My mother was an alcoholic, and she suffered from schizophrenia. So growing up with that, she would sometimes get so stressed out. Um, you know, she would believe she'd have delusions, and she had made a couple attempts at her life. And I think that if we look at like now, we look at ACEs and we can look back and say, okay, maybe this is why. My stepfather was a little bit abusive. Wasn't always daisies, I guess you can say, but I enjoyed childhood. I liked to ride bikes, ride four-wheelers, all that good stuff. But it was mixing drinks for him early on. So. Well, obviously you acknowledge the fact that your family may be a little dysfunctional, but because I grew up with it, I didn't really notice. I didn't know there was much of a difference until I started meeting other people's families and the way that they were raised. But it didn't hold me back from bringing guys over, bringing friends over. I do know that there was some shame involved with like getting rides to school when my mother was drinking. She smelled like bourbon. So I think maybe that might have had a role in it. The first time, believe it or not, I drank alcohol. I think the first time I drank alcohol was 10 years old, and we didn't think much of it. Didn't really care for it, but 18 years old, 19 years old before the first time I tried cocaine. And my little brother actually brought it. I did it, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I went on that for about 6 months. We started taking pain pills. Hell, I didn't even know what detox was until I ran out. I did a lot of things that I'm ashamed of. Addiction took me a completely different direction than I thought I'd go. Growing up, I shot pool early on. I got pretty good at it, so I played on the circuit. I traveled all over the United States. I've lived in Japan for a little while. 14 years old, I was kicked out of my house. My mother kind of sided with my stepfather. He had hit her, and I attacked him. And so he was drunk, and he couldn't defend himself, and I kind of went wild. And my dream was to be this amazing world-class pool player. It's a strange dream to have, but if I didn't have 8 Oxycontin 80s a day, then I wasn't no good to anybody. And so just to function, I was ripping a line every 30 minutes, 45 minutes. My favorite drug is more. I found out that addiction just didn't stop at one substance. Right. I wanted to alter the way I felt, so it didn't matter. If you put it in front of me, it was done. I would do it. So I've been addicted to just about everything.
Right. I do not know what it's like to struggle with substance use, but I know what it's like to be me.
Dannielle, for right now.
I had my reservations about going to that event because here's an event where these people are talking about how great recovery is, put on by organizations that failed my son, in my opinion. I'm just like, I hate the world right now, right? Because my son had died. I don't know if it was 3-4 weeks after Michael passed away. The day I found out was August 14.
What led you to deciding to open up the recovery center?
When Mike was introduced to sober houses, he was like, someday I'd like to have my own sober house and for Ken, but like it was something, for him, and I just had so much faith in him. I had high hopes for him. I just, in my heart, felt like he had a very big purpose here. And I knew that he would meet that purpose or, figure that out when he got sober. He kind of just thought he was going to show up and he was gonna get sober because he got attendance, A for attendance or whatever. Rockland Recovery. Well, I sent him there in Massachusetts, and they have a great program and great therapists. And I would talk to him every day. And one day I said, "So, how was your day? What'd you learn today?" And he says, "Oh, I learned that I'm not an addict." And it's like, oh my goodness gracious, here we go. And
2 weeks into my program, I was like, why am I still here?
Yeah.
I'm on Suboxone. I don't crave drugs anymore. why is it 9 months? You know, it's because the people who actually know what's going on say it needs to be 9 months. You know, and I had to come to accept that. Maybe there's still something wrong with me. And, you know, I know my issue was, it was my thinking. You know, I just smoked it and snorted it, you know, but all of that stuff has to change. So regardless of what program we go into, if we're not going to change our thinking, then it's not going to live for long.
I moved up here when I was about 11 years old. We originally were from Raymond, Maine, and came up here to be closer to the family. I think not long after I moved up here, it was when I started to get into substances and drinking. I was about 12 or 13.
Did you try?
Not long after I started drinking, I tried pot and fell in love with it right away. After I fell in love with that, I just wanted more new experiences that were seemingly profound to me. So everything and anything I could find. It was what I thought about all day even then. And so within a year, I went from, you know, a couple times a month to every week, and then it became every weekend and nearly every day. When I was in school, I played every sport and any sport that I could. My favorite was soccer. I enjoyed basketball, you know, everything.
Were you particularly good at any one of them?
At the time, I'd like to think I was pretty good. At first, it was like a party. It was exciting. It was something that I thought, you know, not many people did. And I had suppressed a lot of that pain, and I think in order to manage it, I had to numb myself to a certain degree. In my situation, I was adopted very young, and so I didn't know my birth parents. 4 years, it was night and day. In the beginning, I was gravitating towards people who were interested in the same things, and after a while, I started to meet people that I knew nothing about what they had interest in, and it just, you know, there was a lot of curiosity there. And when I was about 12, I think, was the first time that I had my bump into the law. And yeah, very, very early on, I ended up getting wrapped up into the legal system with probation, and you know, it was relative to hanging out with an older crowd that didn't have my best interest in mind, and next thing you know, I'm over my head.
Yeah.
I think when I was around 16 was the first time that I was introduced to a program of recovery. And of course at the time, I was unfamiliar with it, but it felt like something was there that I needed, and I had a strong connection. I knew then that I needed help. I probably wouldn't have admitted it out loud, but I did need help then, I knew it. And it took many years before I started to seek my own path of recovery. A lot of the times before that, it was kind of mandated, or you know, I was kind of pushed towards it, and unwillingly a lot of the time, but I thank God for that now. I did not want to admit my powerlessness.
Yeah, at 16, I can't imagine. That was an easy thing to do.
It was hard, but then I kept trying to do it by myself, and it wasn't working. The first rehab that I ever went to was Day One in Hollis, and I was about, I think I turned 18 there. It's at this point that if I wanted to keep living this way, then all I had to do was continue what I was doing, but if I wanted to get out of it, then I needed to make changes, and I needed to take hold of my life.
When I fall, I know I'm strong enough to get back on my feet, even though it might be tough. And if I lose sight of the good in my life, I'll just take a deeper look inside of my mind. Yes, I traveled down this road before, 'cause nothing's new to me. I've seen a million things that a man should never see, but I wish that I could understand why I've masqueraded myself with this pain. If I could just find the solution, then everything that I know might change. But it's a new day for me, and I know I'll make it through. When I fall, I know I'm strong enough to get back on my feet, even though it might be tough. And if I lose sight of the good in my life, I'll just take a deeper look inside of my mind. 'Cause I know that I can do what's right. Oh, I don't mean to seem like I'm just feeling bad for myself, and my intentions weren't to mention this to anyone else. It's just I need to vent a little to get this out of my head, instead of sitting inside of my sinister mind and just letting the madness spread. 'Cause it's a new day for me, and I know I'll make it through. When I fall, I know I'm strong enough to get back on my feet, even though it might be tough. And if I lose sight of the good in my life, I'll just take a deeper look inside of my mind. Can't you see I try so hard. I'm looking deeper into my mind. When I fall, I know I'm strong enough to get back on my feet, even though it might be tough. And if I lose sight of the good in my life, I'll just take a deeper look inside of my mind.
My name is Aaron Kirsten, and I recover loud. Grew up in a very loving pastor's home. They say that pastors' kids are the worst ones. I proved that point. I think I was 15 when I first smoked pot.
Okay.
And 15, 16 in that area. I must have been 16 because would have been June 20th, 2001. My mom passed away. And that was a trauma, a childhood trauma that I never fully and correctly dealt with. And that's what started me down a road that I never really questioned that God was real. What I did question is why my mom,
Yeah.
and why us?
I mean, every day, all day.
Yeah. Built your day around getting high.
Exactly.
It stayed pretty much weed through the rest of high school. Band was a godsend for me.
Me too. What did you play?
Drums.
Okay.
Drums. Mr. Dan Schneider was my band teacher and still continues to be a great friend to this day.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been for him back during those times, I'd probably be a different person.
Mm.
Early 2006, I started. You get up, you drag yourself to work, and that was back when they had 8-hour shifts.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stand it, and I couldn't stay awake. Yeah. But I noticed all the guys that were working on the line that I was working on, they were bouncing. It was a junction box cover, metal junction box cover. And he laid me out a line of crank. And he says, "This will help you out." I was on bounce for about 3 days. He said, I know of a place that you can go. And if I can get you in, will you go? And I was ready. I did good for 6 months, but I didn't change some people that I hung around with. And I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Somebody was packing a pipe, firing up a torch, and I got in the circle. Yeah. And the next thing I knew, I was buying an 8-ball.
Sort of upper middle class family in the Allentown, Pennsylvania area.
One thing that you were telling me is, you know, they gave you what you needed, and they taught you the lessons that were important for our teenagers to learn. You still fell into using substances.
I did.
How did that happen? What was the first substance you used?
When I was like 12, 13-ish, I had drank with some friends. That was like my first. Kind of quickly fell into that pattern of what the older kids are doing, like drinking on the weekends before the football game and smoking weed on the way to school. Some of it probably had to do with like feeling like socially out of sync. High school in 2000. So later in high school was when ecstasy became a really big thing, at least in our area, and it was kind of everywhere. So I had access to that. You know, occasionally like cocaine would be around, so that was when I started dabbling with like that substance and having, you know, weed at the concert. So I actually crashed a car and then got arrested and put on probation all in like a 2-week period when I was 16. At that time it was like, you know, this is sowing my wild oats. This is normal. This is like what boys do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you get scared straight?
Definitely not.
No.
And I had a great probation officer who was like very supportive, but you know, I try to find ways to work around the drug testing if possible. Definitely like 12-step programs were brought up. A lot of the curriculum associated with that 30-day was centered around, you know, 12-step. And then, you know, going to AA and raising your hand when you got out, saying you needed help. Yeah. Then, you know, I got a DUI a little bit later in my 20s. That was another consequence that, you know, triggered another detox and 30-day stay. Didn't take it seriously again. The first time like I sought recovery was late in my 20s, and I had 2 friends, you know, in upstate New York at a friend's vacation home, and they left a bar late, you know, both intoxicated, and the driver lost control of the car. Unfortunately, on impact, the passenger died on impact. And
which part changed later on? Was it the use of heroin or the use of syringes?
All the above. You are crazy if you think I'm like not gonna drink for the rest of my life. And
Yeah.
I couldn't fathom that at 21.
Yeah. And I realized that, you know, I don't have a problem with alcohol unless I have alcohol.
As a result of the concussion, I still to this day do not know. I lost like 8 hours of memory, and I still don't know who was driving my car at that point. So that was like one consequence.
Let's go. I'm on a journey to discover the truth. Living life in recovery is lovely. You got the power in you. Surround yourself with positive energy. Judges hitting people with provocative penalties. Need to make a change. Advocate to change the laws. Screw the people that it's not insane. When you stand behind a cause, I'm here to speak about the pain. Recover loud to normalize the disease that's been killing all my friends and my family. The time is now to let it all go and recover loud. The benefit is healthy people, family and friends that never have to overdose ever again. Never have to plead out to a lesser offense. I'm proud to say that I recover loud. I never thought I could, but I'm so proud that I discovered how to live my life again, controlling my own destiny. I needed recovery, I still need it desperately. Addiction never defined my identity. I recovered loud, here to tell my own story.